what do you make of this next wave of major projects, and what kind of political challenges do you think they'll face?
Well, the political challenges of all of these resource projects are going to be similar. You're going to have people in the regions worried about the environment, worried about what's being left for future generations, of particular concern, of course, to First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. So the government is trying to reassure them, and I think they're largely right on this, that nothing in a federal statute can affect their constitutional rights and their inherent rights. Fair enough. But when push comes to shove and you have, for example, traditional leadership in one First Nation saying, hold on, you might have signed on for this deal with this private company, we're not on board with it, then you're going to wind up with a conflict. So it's complicated. You're right to point out the fact that this is accelerating approvals, but a project doesn't get approved, oh, this is tungsten, let's bring it out of the ground. A project includes what you do after. So if you think of the giant gold mine in Yellowknife, that cost Canadian taxpayers $1 billion to clean up the mess. People who own the companies, got their dividends, made money on the shares, they were long gone. We were stuck with the bill. And ask anybody what it costs to clean up the Sydney tar ponds. So these are classic examples of where people come in, do a mining or extraction project, make a bundle of money, and are not thereafter to clean up the mess. The Canadian government has got to make sure that if they move approval forward, that that approval contains all of the appropriate and necessary guardrails to make sure that these things are safe and that we're not leaving a mess to clean up for future generations and for them, of course, to pay for it.
Yeah, from start to finish. Okay, let's switch to another topic. Right now in Niagara on the Lake, Anita Anand is hosting G7 leaders as well as other leaders from around the world, not specifically or not just G7 leaders. Marco Rubio will be there. I understand he's a bit late, but nonetheless, he is on his way. How much do you think trade tensions will play into the talks between the two of them? What are you watching for to come out of that meeting?
Well, I love the little signal that is given just by having it in the Niagara region, frankly. You know, if anybody's visiting there for the first time, they're, of course, going to see the falls, and they'll realize that Canada's falls are much nicer than the American ones. Marco Rubio has been anything but an adversary. He's, of course, an appointee of Donald Trump, very loyal to Trump, who did put him in that job. But he's got a very clever view of the world, and he's been doing, I'd say, amongst the lead members of the cabinet of Donald Trump, a very decent job. We're careful to say we're not negotiating with the Americans, because, of course, Donald Trump has decided there are not going to be negotiations until he decides otherwise. But there are talks continuing. So for us to be able to have Marco Rubio here, to have his ear, to talk things through, to maybe move things forward, I think that that's part of the objective as well. Other countries are watching how Canada deals with Donald Trump and with the States. A tiny little thing on the radar this week, Marcia, was worth noting. Canada decided that we were going to open up a consulate general in Greenland. Now, why is that important? Well, of course, Donald Trump, when he woke up after the election, just decided, oh, I think I'll take over Greenland. And he even sent his vice president there uninvited. So this is the type of madness we deal with on a daily basis with Trump. He's forgotten about Greenland recently, but maybe it'll come back. So Canada is playing the long game and saying, we're NATO allies with Denmark, as is the United States, of course, but we're going to make sure that they understand that we're on their side. We get this, we're dealing with it. And I think Canada is still seen as the country with the greatest repository of expertise in dealing with the Americans writ large, and in particular in dealing with the Donald, because, of course, he's a passing phenomenon. He won't be there for more than another few years, but after that, we'll still have to have a relationship with them, and I do think that we'll be able to continue on and continue to give information and advice to close allies like the G7, foreign ministers who are going to be in Niagara.
And lastly, on that point, what do you make of Canada going sort of outside foreign ministers and inviting other leaders to be there as well? What message is Canada trying to send with that?
We're trying to send the message that we've got other friends. We've got other allies. We can work outside. And, it grew a bit frustrating for people for whom politics takes place in the House of Commons, and I'm not underestimating the importance. I got elected there 4 times, and I appreciated every moment of it. But Mark Carney has been sending a very clear signal. The mess created by Donald Trump isn't temporary. It completely upset a centuries-old relationship, a unique relationship in the world, the most intertwined economies of large countries in the world, and he broke it. Okay, that's the reality. So Carney's been working in the UK, working it with the European Union, working with Asia-Pacific partners, traveling constantly. He's got a meeting coming up with President Xi. He's going to China. He's signaling that he's already given himself a target to increase by $300 billion our international trade beyond the U.S. over the next 10 years. It's a moderate and realizable target, but it's also a signal. We've got other friends in the world. We're never going to make the mistake again of putting all of our eggs economically in the American basket, period.
Tom Mulcair for us this morning. Tom, as always, really appreciate seeing you.
Good to be with you too, Marcia. All the best.
Bye-bye.